Introduction. Supplier selection is one of the essential activities in the current supply chain management. Due to the supplier has a fundamental role in the chain, we notice the importance of a suitable selection process. It is clear that provider selection is a multi-criteria decision-making problem, and therefore appropriate tools are required to perform this process. Additionally, suppliers tend to influence the supply chain risks, so the requirement to include potential risks in the selection criteria of the supplier becomes apparent. The problem of supplier selection within supply chain management is one of the most difficult decisions faced by organizations seeking to be successful and competitive in the market. That's why having the right suppliers guarantees high quality goods and services, products with high harmlessness standards, a higher speed of response to variations in demand, proper time management, cost reduction, higher productivity, among others. The key to supplier selection lies in knowing the criteria to use to select them. That's why various mathematical tools have been developed that evaluate both quantitative and qualitative criteria, warranting the best selection of them. Among these criteria are the three most common and traditional factors used by organizations: price, quality, and delivery time. However, it should be noted that it's ideal not to set aside essential factors such as legal, economic, and political conditions. The problem of supplier selection should consider the criteria mentioned above and the different risk factors that may arise in the supply chain. There are multiple factors to consider in the supply selection problem. In addition to the criteria, it's also important to remember that several risks can unbalance the acquisition process. Finally, the objective of this document is to establish a multi-criteria proposal to select suppliers considering the operational risks among the selection criteria. In addition, provide to the organization with a tool that allows it to apply this process at any time. Could you, literature review is the third, exactly the third, thank you. For this article, we made a literature review for a large number of papers using multi-criteria techniques for supplier selection. In this process, we consider the authors you can see in the slide. Next, please. Research methodology. The proposed methodology presents a combination of ISAHP and Topsis. The ISAHP defines the weight of the criteria that will be considered for the decision-making process. To make the final decision, we use Topsis by designing valuation scales for each of the criteria. There are two moments in this methodology. At the first moment, we applied the ISAHP. The results obtained have a medium and long-term horizon since the criteria and weights are defined for any selection process and are maintained as long as there are no structural changes in the company. And secondly, we defining evaluation scales for each of the criteria, including the operational risks to be considered. Topsis applied each time selecting a supplier must be addressed. Next, please. Data analysis. The next, please. Yes, thank you. The supplier selection model was implemented in a Colombian multinational company. There was then the participation of a group of people linked to the purchasing process. By implementing the proposed methodology, it was possible to establish the best supplier for a fundamental product in the company's manufacturing process. Additionally, a sensitive analysis was performed against the criteria weights to see whether or not the solution obtained could be trusted. We tackled 5 scenarios. In all of them, the select alternative was retained. However, it's important to mention that the other alternative in order is modified with the change in the weight of the criteria according to the above analysis. Next, please. Thank you. Quality. Quality, delivery, time, and price were the criteria most voted by the expert for this exercise. And after applying the AHP and Topsis, it's obtained that the solution is the alternative 3 with a score of 0.81. Next, please. Thank you. Limitations. This proposal has two fundamental limitations. Firstly, the selection of the criteria and the inclusion of risks and the weights thereof are based on the expertise of the group members. If they aren't experts, the results will be less significant to the company. And the second limitation is related to the evaluation scales designed for each of the criteria. These scales are associated with the knowledge and judgment of those involved. The final result of the selection depends directly on those evaluations. And next, please. Conclusions. Although the proposed methodology was designed for a particular organization, the methodological scheme can be easily replicated for any other type of organization. According to the company's objective, the new criteria must be defined and another risks considered. And finally, it's essential to involve people with high knowledge and experience, so the methodology's results are really important to the organization. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mrs. Jenny, for the presentation. Okay, as promised, at